Given the fact that hardly a week goes past where a manufacturer doesn't launch a new small compact SUV crossover into the EV world, you'd be forgiven for thinking that sometimes manufacturers might forget about some of their products that have been on sale for a while. Take the little Hyundai Kona, for instance. Now, the Kona has been one of our favourites at AutoEV. In fact, so much so that last year we thought it was a better family car than the brilliantly practical Peugeot e-Rifter and the superb Citroën EC4. However, Hyundai's been quite busy of late with the new Ioniq 5 and the Ioniq 6, and of course their sister brand Kia has been launching the brilliant eNiro EV. So you'd be forgiven for thinking that maybe the Kona's been slightly forgotten about. But have no fear, Hyundai have been very busy of late. In fact, so busy that not just have they launched the Ioniq 5, the Ioniq 6, but now there's a new Kona. Welcome to this week's edition of Sneak Peeks. Welcome to the new Hyundai Kona, and as always, welcome to AutoEV. Now, before we get cracked on with this week's edition of Sneak Peeks, a couple of things. First of all, we are in a hotel conference room. I did the sneak peek of the BMW iX1 in this place, and it is quite echoey. So apologies if you're getting that echoey sound through our microphone. So first and foremost, sorry about that. However, we feel it's worth it to bring you this car, a sneak peek of this car as soon as we possibly could. And obviously, as always, please remember to make sure you are subscribed to the AutoEV channel. And once you've done that, press the little bell button that's down below, because then that way you'll be notified of when our next video goes live. Once you watch the video, if you enjoy it, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And please remember, make sure you do leave us some of your comments down below. Let us know about the cars that we review and also your thoughts on the channel as a whole, barring the sound quality for today. Now, the Kona. As I say, it's been a bit of a fun favourite of ours at AutoEV. We really like its kind of quirky little looks and its kind of compact nature, and it's quite practical and it's quite nice to drive. It's not perfect, however. There was areas that we felt could have been better, and there was areas where it was overshadowed a lot, I felt, by its cousin from Kia, the eNiro. Certainly in terms of its refinement and some of the build quality of the interior, some of the plastics used on the inside. And hopefully, they've gone to great lengths to address that, and certainly they've kept the kind of quirky looks, which we'll come on to in terms of its styling, and they've brought it much in line with the other Ioniq models as well. But you might be wondering why they haven't called it an Ioniq, given that that is now Hyundai's kind of sub-brand for its EV models. And that's pure and simply because the Kona, like previous Kona, is also going to be available with piston engines as well. So let's take a little deeper dive into this one and see what they've changed and find out whether or not we still think it's worthy of your consideration. Now, let's start with the car styling, because it's still a very distinctive looking little crossover in the market, and they have brought it in line with the other Ioniq models by the use of pixels, as you'll see as we go around the car. You've got this full width light bar that runs across here, or as Hyundai speak as a seamless horizon lamp. On the EV model, it is pixelated, whereas on the standard combustion models, this is going to be a continuous light. I quite like the fact they've pixelated, as I say. It just kind of draws it into that family of the Ioniq models where the pixel is king. And again, you'll see lots of that kind of reference as you go around the car. Lower down here, for instance, you see the little kind of square pixels along this bottom kind of cooling grille down here, where you've got your kind of radar sensor in there as well. Your main lamps are now located on the side here, a little bit like the Kia with the eNiro. I mean, again, it's done something similar. It's pushed them right out to the corner, and it's got the main lamp units down there as well. And your big, bold, new Hyundai logo there. Charging flap remains at the front, which is quite nice, and it's now got the little sort of like lights as well to indicate, obviously, its charging state, and it's illuminated as well, which is a really good thing. Again, if you're trying to charge the car at night, and maybe you're at a public charger where it's not well lit, at least you can see where your socket is as you're putting your charger in there. So that's a nice little touch as well, Hyundai, well done. You got a tiny little sort of like camera there for the forward-facing camera as well. But as I say, it's got this kind of chunkiness that remains from the last car, and as I say, it cuts quite a dash. It is a familiar looking face, but with a slightly different kind of appeal to it, perhaps. Now, inside profile, again, drawing in from the other members of the Hyundai family, the Ioniqs, you can see like the Ioniq 5, where you've got some quite nice sharp creases in the panel work. Look at this line here that goes up there, all the way up. That's kind of almost like the Ioniq 5s, where it kind of goes the other way, meeting the rear wheel arch. You've got some very, very strong kind of wheel arch extensions kind of here that come out from the bodywork, and then this nice kind of chiseled kind of shoulder line that runs up. The car looks physically bigger than the previous car. Now, there is some difference in the dimensions of it, but it does seem like it's almost kind of grown up a little bit. It's kind of matured in its size to bring it in line with some of the competition. Maybe such things such as the MG ZS and of course BYD's Atto 3. You get these kind of pixelated design on the alloy wheels as well. These are 19-inch alloys on the EV. We're not getting to drive it today, so I can't comment on whether the refinement and ride quality is better than the previous car. That'll have to wait for a full AutoEV road test, but certainly 19-inch wheels are standard on the car. And as I say, that kind of EV model gets that kind of pixelated design. You've got the kind of usual kind of integrated roof rails that you do on, like you did on the last car as well. And the glass house just seems that little bit different, the way it kind of just sweeps up now into that rear kind of tailgate spoiler. I like the way Hyundai are doing their designs at the moment, because they say they're wanting each car to have its own distinctive look, but still remain part of the Hyundai family. And I think they've managed that really, really well with the Kona. Again, I like the look of the old car, and they've just kind of updated it a little bit better, and they've just kind of just kept it fresh and kept it kind of good looking within the marketplace, as I say, considering the amount of competition that's now coming out there. Now at the rear, like the front, you've got this bold light bar that runs across the top here. Is it just me, or is anyone else seeing the helmet of Robocop here? Just me? Yeah. It's pixelated, obviously, as you'd expect, as is this little bit of trim down the back here, with the pixels along the back of it here, with the reversing sensors just below. Reflectors, they're pixelated as well. And then, like the front, the main lamps of the car, so the indicator and such like, and reversing lamp, they're all kind of pushed right out to the side in these units. Gives it a really distinctive kind of back end. The centre mounted stop lamp, as you can see, isn't a full width one, it's just this centre mounted one here, which is quite nice. I like that, it's big and it's bold and it's kind of in your face, and I like the statement that it makes. Of course, regular viewers will see how much joy that I feel seeing a rear wiper on the back of the car. Fantastic, thanks Hyundai. And of course you get the big kind of bold, unapologetic Kona lettering across the back, just crowned off by the new Hyundai badge. Tailgate goes all the way down to the bumper, and we'll see that in the practicality section. It's got quite a good bit of practicality about the car. Okay, so what do we think? Well, what do you think? I think this is a really nice step on. I think it's a real winner in the marketplace. Whereas the BYD Atto 3, when I saw that car, I kind of thought it played it a little bit safe. I like the fact Hyundai have been a little bit bold with it. Have they been too bold? Do you own a current Kona? Would this interest you to trade up? Have they gone too far? Not far enough? As always, let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Okay, so practicality-wise, we get this nice big tailgate that opens up, as I say, electronically on this model, right down to bumper level. So you've got this, I mean, that's literally at my knee height, and as you know, I'm not a particularly tall person. So load height is really good. You don't have to lift up anything too high into that, and it's a relatively flat load space in. Now, I don't have the official figures for the space at the moment, but it's a good usable size of space, I would suggest. And obviously, I don't have suitcases with me, but judging on that, I would certainly, there's 3 suitcases definitely going to fit in there, if not all 4, which I would probably expect it would. Underneath boot floor, well, there's massive amount of storage in terms of cable storage and all the bits and paraphernalia that you're going to need in the car. So there you go there, cables sort of like in there. Vehicle to load as well, that's important. The Kona comes with vehicle to load now as well, which is another plus point for Hyundai as far as I'm concerned. It has a sort of false floor as well, as you can see. You can actually raise the height of that a little bit, to give you a little bit more of a sort of like an underfloor compartment, or depending obviously on what you need, you can drop it right down and give you a little bit more kind of depth up to the parcel shelf. Rigid parcel shelf, which is good, and the seats do fold 60-40 as well, so a good amount of storage available in the car. And of course, being a Hyundai, as you'd expect, you do get a small amount of storage up at the front. Now it's not massive, I think that must be about 20 odd litres, but it's probably big enough for an extra sort of like storage cable, or as I say, if you're a muddy dog leader or something like that that you need to put in there, or a pair of kids' wellies or something, it's certainly big enough for that. So not huge, but useful. Now the previous Kona was pretty decent as a little family car. Has that changed? No, it hasn't changed at all. This is very good actually in the back here. That seat, although it's left-hand drive car, I've set up for myself. That's my driving position. And I've got plenty of footroom. One of the things I always seem to find maybe with Kia and Hyundai sometimes is I can't quite get my feet comfortable under the front seat when it's in my position. This one I seem to be able to. Now, despite being spun from a piston engine platform as well, you do have a flat floor, so the centre person, if you are putting 3 across, isn't going to have a problem with the foot space there as well. And it does feel like a decent amount of space back here, certainly for class when you're considering things like MGZS, as I say, BYD Atto 3, and of course Kia's Niro. What else can I talk to you about it? Well, of course, you've got, depending on spec, we're not really sure of the UK specifications just yet, but on this one I've got 3-stage heated seats in the back as well. There is a 3-pin plug socket back here as well, so if you're sitting with your laptop or your kids have got the games consoles out and they need to charge them, there's a 3-pin plug there. There's also 2 USB-C ports down there. Door bins, well, there's basically a shape for a water bottle, so that will go in there, which is fine. Let's have a little look here. Yep, we've got a fold down armrest with another 2 cup holders in there. So again, certainly enough space that you're going to find for a small family. Now this car's fitted with a sunroof, but it's not a big panoramic roof like you get in some of the other cars. Now that's going to sort of like, if it slides back into the space, which it looks like it does do, that means headroom could be a premium. However, if I sit here, and I know I'm a shorty, only 5'8", it kind of feels like there would be enough. I think if you were maybe 6 foot, you would maybe be closer sort of like, you know, to brushing the sort of like ceiling here, but they seem to have scalped it out well. And of course you've got this third little quarter light back there, so there's an amount of light that comes in the back here is quite good, so certainly it feels very spacious. So yeah, I would say there's an improvement here. Now as luck would have it, there is another Kona here, the previous model. So I'll now give you a quick synopsis of what it looks like with me sitting in the back of that one. So this is me in the back of this one here. And with the power of magic, this is me in the old one. And there is a massive difference in terms of space. Again, that driving seat set up for myself, and it feels much closer to me. And as I say, my foot, I can barely get them underneath the sort of like the bottom of the front seats. And you feel much more enclosed in this car. There doesn't feel the sort of like the amount of space that you've got in the new one. So yeah, so it's a massive step up in terms of practicality of rear space for the new Kona. Now, one of my previous criticisms of the old car was surrounding the dashboard area. Whilst it was good, it wasn't great. There were other people that were doing it better. You had this big kind of centrally mounted display up here, and this kind of console had a real, just love a silver painted plastic. I just wasn't very keen on it, just didn't feel particularly right. This, however, is a step on, and it's very familiar to people who've maybe been inside the Hyundai Ioniq 5. You can see there's a lot of similarities in there, and I really, really like this. Now again, it's going to take me living with the car on a proper road test to give you the full rundown of how it all works and such, but I'll give you the brief kind of synopsis here. You've got the 2 12.3-inch displays, as you've seen in the other products as well, such as Ioniq 5, Ioniq 6 and the Niro EV from Kia. Your driver binnacle in front of you, and I certainly seem to think that they've actually changed it slightly, because whilst I say until I get to drive it I don't know, but this Speedo does feel slightly more inset than it did in the other cars, which was a criticism I had because I always felt it was being cut off by the steering wheel, so that's really good. Talking of the steering wheel, I really like this design of wheel, this lovely thin rimmed 3-spoke, almost kind of 70s Japanese sports like steering wheel around it. You've got the usual brake regeneration paddles behind them on the 2 spokes at the side, and just a nice array of physical buttons on the spokes. Nothing too complicated, so for things like volume, answering phone calls, cruise control and setting your modes as well, so that's really nice. No physical Hyundai badge in the centre of the boss because it's got 4 pixels, and 4 dots is the Morse code for H. So there you go, that's how you know that. Of course, you've got this infotainment screen sitting over here, which, as you'd expect, has all the usual kind of bits and pieces to it. So phone projection, there's a built-in dash cam. I think there's going to be an option on the car as well. I'm sure obviously things like Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are going to be in there as well. But then you've got physical buttons down below it, and they're all within nice easy reach. So the shortcut buttons for up here, so the home button, map, to go into your media, hazards, and then track search there with volume for the radio and tuning as well. So again, nice and easy for the passenger to use as well. Below that's your heating and ventilation controls. So again, physical buttons there. So temperature on sort of like this side. There you go. You can sync it all up. You can have the usual thing of that they like doing with driver only, where it's just the driver's side that gets it if you don't have a passenger with you, which helps the efficiency. Sorry, I'll just turn that off. So that's good. And then below that there, you've got your connectivity as well. So you've got USB ports there, a 12-volt socket in there as well. It looks like to be a wireless charging pad in here. And then down here, these buttons, again, your heated seat, ventilated seat, heated steering wheel, your auto hold, parking assistance, and then your drive mode selector there. Now, you don't have the buttons for the transmission like you used to in the old one. Again, it's gone like the Ioniq 5. It's this kind of stock that comes out of the steering column here. So twisting it forward for drive, back for reverse, pushing in for park. So again, that's nice and out of the way. And it does give you a nice open kind of cockpit feel here, although there is this central storage bin, and storage is brilliant. You've also got 2 cup holders down in here, and there's big centre storage bin, another little bin in there, and another one that goes all the way back in there. So superb. There's some nice ambient lighting in the car as well. So again, like the Ioniq 5 and the Ioniq 6, you've got this nice kind of glow underneath the dashboard, and this slightly kind of ribbed shelf here in front of the passenger, and again, a good decent sized glove box. And the quality feels, again, as you'd expect from a new age Hyundai product as well. So really nice quality feel to some of the plastics. There are some harder plastics in certain places that you wouldn't touch, but again, like most cars in this class, although they are slightly hard, they do feel that they're built to last. And again, it's this real kind of step up that we've seen from the Korean manufacturers, where they are now making leaps and bounds even over some of the European manufacturers such as Volkswagen. So all in all, as I say, until we get to live with one, there's not really a lot more I can really say about it, but what I will say is this: it's a massive improvement in terms of the driver and front passenger environment over the previous Kona. So well done Hyundai, well done indeed. Now you're going to be able to get the new Kona in 2 battery sizes, so again similar to the previous car as well. So those 2 battery sizes as you have is the short range car, which is an uplifting battery size to 48.4 kilowatt hours, and that should give a range of around about 213 miles. The long range car gets a 65.4 kilowatt hour battery, and that should give a range of around about 304 miles. Now obviously these aren't real world test figures yet. We've yet to drive the car and see exactly how it performs. But what I will say is this: as always with Hyundai and Kia products, they do tend to be very, very efficient, and they certainly do tend to get very, very close to their official figures. So very competitive for class, both of those figures. And obviously you'll be able to choose which one is going to suit you best, whether you need the shorter range car or the longer range car. As I say, charging's at the front from the CCS charger, which is obviously standard. There's no charging times being given to us as yet, but consider the usual sort of benchmark of sort of like the 10 to 80% is going to be around about 30 to 40 minutes. Because remember, if it's like the eNiro, this isn't on the eGMP platform, so it doesn't get the big 800 volt architecture and the very high charging speeds. Charging speeds are usually on these cars below the 100 kilowatts, which is a little disappointing. But it is a slightly better, it's a flatter charging curve. In other words, it doesn't peak and drop off as quickly as some of its competitors. So yin and yang, good and bad certainly, and from that point of view. But as I say, until we drive it, we can't give you the real sort of world figures as yet. Which also means that until we drive it, we can't really tell you an awful lot about how it drives, in fairness. But again, it's going to be of similar to what we've seen previously from the Kona, and as I say, its cousin from Kia, the eNiro. So think of this, it's probably going to be a car at around about under 200 brake horsepower, and one available at around about the 200 brake horsepower, which should give a range of, sorry, not 60 time, around about the 7 seconds. So as long as it remains class competitive, then performance-wise, we're not going to be in too much disappointment. What I am interested to find out, as I say, what I did feel about the old Kona was it lacked a little bit of refinement when it came to the drive, and I always felt that the Kia did it a lot better. So I'm really looking forward to driving this car, especially given how good I think the Ioniq 5 and the Ioniq 6 is, to see what they've done with the Kona. Now, we don't have any official pricing for the new Kona as yet, but as I say, it would be probably not a bad guess to think they're going to keep pricing pretty much where the previous model left off from. As I say, that £30,000 to £40,000 bracket is quite a sort of like a burgeoning market for this, like the small family EV bar, and it seems to be where most people are kind of concentrating on. So of course, if you're looking at regular hatchbacks as well, such as the MG4, Volkswagen ID3, they are starting around about the mid-30s as well. So I'd say it's a fair guess to think that it's going to be somewhere sort of like from early 30s up to maybe £40,000, depending on battery size and specification you choose. Now, in terms of competition for the Kona, well, it's pretty much going to be like it was for the last one, and there certainly is plenty of competition between that sort of like £30,000 to £40,000 bracket, where the Kona is probably going to slot into. So things like the MG ZS, the BYD Atto 3, Kia's Niro as well, despite being related, is going to be a competitor for this car, and we know how good that car is. Stellantis Group, they've revised some of their models as well. So the Vauxhall Mokka-e, a car that we compared to the last Kona. If you're a regular viewer of AutoEV, you may have seen that twin test. The Mokka-e is going to be a competitor for the car, as well as DS3 and of course Peugeot's E2008 as well, which again has recently been revised. So there's certainly plenty out there, and there's going to be more on the horizon as well. Remember, Ford, they're going to be doing the new Explorer, which is kind of spun from Volkswagen's MEB platform, and at some stage they are also going to electrify the Puma. Like I said at the very beginning, the current Kona has always been a firm favourite of ours at AutoEV. Looks good, drives well, relatively practical, and great car for a small family getting into EV motoring. Very efficient, good range. But it wasn't without its flaws. So it will be interesting to see whether or not the new Kona builds on that base and addresses those flaws that we saw with the previous car. Now, of course, we're not going to be able to answer those questions specifically until we subject it to the full AutoEV road test. But on first acquaintance today, I'd say it's so far so good. Thank you once again for watching another edition of Sneak Peeks on AutoEV. As always, please make sure you are subscribed to the channel. And once you've done that, press the bell button that's down below, because then that way you'll be notified of when our next episode goes live. If you've enjoyed the video, make sure you do give us a thumbs up. And as I said before, make sure you do leave us your comments down below. Let us know about your thoughts on the cars that we review and that we cover, and of course on the channel as a whole. Remember, we're across all social media as well, so Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, even TikTok and LinkedIn. So if you could give us a follow there, that would certainly be much appreciated as well. And if you still haven't had enough of me prattling on about new electric cars, then by all means, please sit and watch the rest of our YouTube channel, because there's well over 125 videos now, not just sneak peeks, but road test reviews, twin tests, used car buying guides, classic electric icons, van reviews, and even motorbike reviews. All that remains for me to say is thank you once again for watching and supporting AutoEV. As always, I look forward to seeing you again soon.